Yes, salam sejahtera and a very good day to everyone. Welcome to our forum for today. I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Dedina Errol Gerald and I'm a member of Malaysian Social Society Club and I will be your moderator for our discussion for today. We all are aware that currency exchange rate between two countries may differ from time to time due to several factors. We are trying to identify what is the issue together by sharing informative and beneficial ideas, which will be delivered to our guests. And later on, we will be doing a Q&A session as well. So our topic that will be highlighted for today is the impact of currency depreciation in Malaysia. I'm sure that each and every one of you has your own opinion and thought regarding our topic. But before we proceed with our discussion, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Our first panelist is Puan Nurhana binti Muhammad Omar, President of Financial Welfare and Social Security. Next, we have Puan Nur Amira Shahira binti Muhammad Saman, Chief Executive Officer of KWSP. And also, we have Puan Nur Amira binti Kaharudin, CGS CIMB Securities Malaysia. And last but not least, Puan Ilya binti Omar, the member of Institute of Democracy and Economic Affairs. Before we jump into the detail, let me explain our topic for today. We use currency in our daily life as a medium of exchange for goods and services. People call it money in form of paper and coins. It is issued by the government and generally accepted at its face value as a method of payment. However, there are some factors that lead to the dropping of exchange rate in Malaysia and leaving an impact to the society in Malaysia. Without wasting the time, let's hear opinion from our first invited panel one.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator Diana. Based on Malaysian Now News that has stated that Malaysia ringgit downgraded to record lows of 3.1766 against the Singapore on the day of April 26, aiming the hawkish statement ahead of the Federal Reserve FED and Federal Open Market Committee FOMC meeting and the economic slowdown in China. Hereby, the Malaysian ringgit are no value, this will drop in spending power of M40 will be repercussion for a local economics. The M40 or middle 40% is defined those who earn monthly income of 4,850 to Rm 10,959 ringgit. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic, government continues to roll out stimulus package for those in lower income category but have neglected the M40 which have won by the economics whereby middle classes have the same journey just like the lower income. During this period, could say most M40 group would have lost their job and also have depend a large finance obligation such as house or car loans, would in fact find themselves facing similar situation as those who in B40 household. To point out hereby in terms of taxation, most tax money do come from M40, which like daycare expenses, mortgage, higher education, even entertainment, contribute to economic growth. If Malaysia ringgit keep going downhill, M40 have to fork out their life saving and spending less. This will affect GDP, which will lead spending power decrease. We see less stall and also shop going out of business. Additional to that, from article of Ringgit Plus, volatile global geopolitically tension have impacted the global economic. Indirectly lead to the weakening of silver's currency. This is reflected in the value of investor fear index, which has increased to 25.7 point as at 28 May, from previous average of 18 point. Also, on top of that, The weak ringgit could cancel out potential positive for export as a raw material price has also increased. This has also caused investors to flock out their safe havens assets such as gold and also US dollar to putting down pressure on various currency including Malaysia ringgit. Well, that's all for me. I pass back to our moderator. Thank you all.
And thank you, Puan Hana. From your explanation, you strongly agree that the group M40 will lose their job and have dependence in large financial obligation during currency depreciation. So now let's move on to Puan Amira. What is your opinion?
Thank you, Ms. Diana. According to the analysis, Malaysia poverty rate has decreased, but owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, the poverty rate in Malaysia has risen from 5.6% in 2019 to 8.4% in 2020. This condition is not surprising since it occurs across the world, where the rate of severe poverty has risen since it fell decades ago. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the P40 groups who are involved in low-skill economic activities and a lot of labor were also affected by the increasing situation. Thus, the B40 group that falls into the poor category mostly live in this densely populated location, making social distance impossible to achieve and leaving them vulnerable to COVID-19. In addition, the B40 group is also affected because their work is not suitable for work from home. This situation leaves the B40 group vulnerable to chronic poverty. The COVID-19 pandemic not only affected the B40 group but also the M40 group through disruption in their activities and economic sectors. Based on the article iMoney Learning Center, B40 group most pressured by rising costs of living. The average net income after deducting expenditure in 2019 sit at 230 for B40, 1,127 for M40 and 4,081 ringgit to 4020. Without a doubt, higher price levels will pose more problems for households. However, keep in mind that the severity of the issue will vary from one household to another. The B40 group is particular will likely spend relatively more on food and necessities percentage income wise as compared to the other groups. The higher takeaway from this is the price pressure that is being driven by food will disproportionately affect the lower income bands. As such, lower income households within the B40 band are much more vulnerable to increasing cost of living pressure. According to the data released by Bank Negara, price movement in the CPI basket seem to indicate that there are several items that are putting pressure on prices. The most noteworthy price increase appears to be the essential food items that are frequently purchased by Malaysia, particularly staples such as fresh chicken and eggs. The pandemic has affected production and logistics, resulting in a supply shortage. Shortage of overseas goods mean that domestic production had to make up for ever increasing demand, culminating in rising prices. The price of food products in particular have experienced noticeable increases as insufficient imports of animals, feed, and bad weather begins to take its toll.
Sorry, Puan Amira. I have to say that I disagree with your opinion. For me, I can see the advantage as well during currency depreciation. For instance, B40 we have the most assistance from the government as it have implemented number of financial aids also initiative to assist the lower income household as well those B40 who struggle to cope financially. Example, the initiative is a pemulihan program, also Bantuan Keluarga Malaysia BKM.
Yes, that is some of the good impact that we can count as well. Focusing on the B40 group is appropriate because this group is most affected if their income is affected due to lawyer layoff. Begin us Begin asked to take leave without pay or being unable to work small traders as a result of the movement control order. By definition, the B40 group refers to the group of households with income below 4,360. This group has a high tendency as slip into the financial vulnerability group. In addition, most of them also have low moderate levels of education. This makes it difficult for them to get lucrative jobs. If not helped, it will have an impact on the increasing poverty rate in Malaysia, which is getting worse.
Okay, thank you, Panamira. That was a great opinion to be said. It is said that currency depreciation will bring higher impact on the poverty rate, now let's
Especially during
hear
pandemic.
from our third panel, Puan Nurul. What can you say with our topic? Do you agree or disagree with this?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. I agree with both Puan Amira and Puan Hana. Currency depreciation is really never accepted with open arms in our local context. Given that the economy is still recovering from the pandemic, higher inflation combined with a weak ringgit might limit consumer purchasing and impair the private consumption because inflation particularly impacts low and middle income people who spend a large amount of other income or necessity like food, electricity, healthcare, and communications. The economic recovery might be affected too. A negative trend typically drive up uh, living expenses and affect, among other things, uh, global exchange and trade too. A negative trend frequently raises the cost of living and influence the international trade and exchange among other factors. However, growth in local tourism is one of the economic advantage of a downward trend. As the tourism is fast, makes the travel, lodging, and other related expenditure becoming more reasonable for the international visitors when the local currency depreciate, somewhat compensating for the negative consequence of the downward trend. Based on the article that I read from the Edge Malaysia, CERC, Mr. Lee also say, although a higher local price would partly reduce their purchasing power, a lower ringgit would encourage more international visitors to spend money in the domestic economy's retail and tourism sectors. For example, a weak ringgit versus the Singapore dollar may encourage the Singaporeans to travel over the causeway and spend their money in like locals like Johor and Melaka, thereby boosting the local economy. Now I'm passing back to you, Mr. Director.
Okay, thank you, Puan Nurul, for the opinion. So, Puan Ilya, what is in your mind regarding our topic for today?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. The COVID-19 crisis that hit Malaysia not only integrate live and health but also question the efficiency of government governance. Various approaches have been taken, including the implementation of initiatives to reduce the negative impact of the pandemic. Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat (ACA), which is the category of household with income below 2,500, will get an additional ACA of 500, while for household with income between 2,501 and 5,000 will receive 300. Meanwhile, single will receive an ACA of 100. For senior citizen, special financial assistance targeting 300 on a one-off basis is provided for government, retired, non-pensionable, veteran and fishermen. Subsistence allowance while welfare assistance for senior citizen is increased to 500 per month from 350 previously. The government has made available several economic stimulus measures intended to preserve rakyat welfare, support businesses, and strengthen the economy. In announcing the Prihatin Rakyat Caring for People package on 27 March 2020, the Prime Minister emphasized that no one would be left behind, including the T20 group 10 to 20 of nations. Actually, the T20 group is rarely provided with assistance as they consist of the high-income group and receive high salary in Malaysia. This is because of their Actually, the top group of T20 is the rich whose salary and household income in Malaysia every month exceed RM10,971 for the year 2022. The economy is nosediving with intensifying negative impact on job, income and livelihood, disrupting supply chain and upending businesses and exacerbating inequalities, poverty and hardship, especially among the most vulnerable. For example, in those cases, T20 become B40 including pilot, entrepreneur who are forced to close shop, businessmen who business has fallen and so on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Puan Ilya. That was a great point. So, all panelists, is there any opinion you guys want to add on?
No, Miss Moderator.
What about other panelists? Is there anything that comes to your mind that you
Nothing
want
from
to add?
us as the Miss Moderator.
Okay, so now we will open for Q&A session. Starting from Puan Nurul, is there any clarification needed from our discussion?
Yes, Miss Moderator, I want to ask Puan Hana, is there any factors or impact that can make the move or recovery of Malaysian ringgit?
There is a couple of recovery plan. For example, there is a National Recovery Plan, that is RMP. RMP is a roadmap to progressive reopening society and the economy towards a new normal, where government have its plan. They have separate into two. There is rakyat support and business support. By giving by giving a direct cash assistance, the government aim to assist those who need the most by taking a measure including Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat, Bantuan Khas COVID-19 BKC, and also Bantuan Kehilangan Pendapatan BKP. They are also further assist loan moratorium, payment deflects for education loans, and also including the insurance premium with the takaful contribution. Reskilling, upskilling, training program and job placement of initiative also have introduced to provide more employment opportunity. For the other side of business support is there will be up to 2.5 million employees will be benefit from the wage subsidy program 4.0, that is PSU 4.0. Other than the initiative to support business liquidity, including target loan moratorium and utility bills discount. On the other hand, the Grand Kas Prihatin, where the micro enterprise would be entitled to one-off payment of RM500 in the September 2021, and another will be continuous. Other than that, ringgit expected to rise after Bandar Malaysia revival, will have significant impact on Malaysia economic and will also several global hubs to further attract high-impact global finance, technology and also entrepreneur firm. It will draw a major international finance institution to multinational corporate on and Fortune of 500 company to locate their regional to headquarters in Bandar Malaysia. That's all for me.
Thanks. The answer might up well.
Okay, now we will move on to the next question. What about you, Puan Ilya?
Puan Amira, I've been wondering, is there any action from the government action to address the financial problem that occur to the people in Malaysia?
Thank you for the question from India. As we know, the Malaysian government has released funds for aid during the COVID-19 pandemic. Among the first aid released by the government is Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat to help Malaysians who are experiencing financial problems. This is the holistic framework of Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat, special allowance of 600 for health and medical staff, and also special allowance of 200 to members of the army, police, custom, immigration, fire brigade, civil defense force and RELA members. In addition, the government has also given flexibility to the people, such as deferment of payment of the Skill Development Fund Corporation (PTPK) for 6 months, providing a 15% discount on electricity bill for the tourism sector and 2% for the commercial, industrial, agriculture, and household sector in Peninsula Malaysia. Additional discount on electricity rate usage. The government together with Tenaga Nasional Berhad increased the allocation of 530 million to give a gradual discount of between 15% to 60% according to the use of electricity rates with a maximum limit of 600 kilowatts per month. Postpaid and prepaid customer will be provided with the free high-speed internet with a quota of 1 gigabyte per day until the implementation of the Movement Control Order ends. One of payment to taxi drivers of 600. Deferment of payment of an income tax installment to all small and medium enterprise (SME) for a period of 3 months. The deferment of payment of tax installment to affected business in the tourism sector for 6 months. Moratorium on loan payments for Tekun, Mara and cooperative as well as any government agency that provide loans to SME. Even with this help, it can ease the burden of the people in Malaysia during the pandemic.
Okay, thank you so much, Puan Amira.
Okay, that was a brilliant answer you said, Puan Amira. So I want to take this opportunity to clarify one thing too. So Puan Ilya, many people feel this year is more challenging. What many people are worried about is the cost of living wave in 2022. Will they be able to survive or be killed early? And what's the government action to ease the living burden of the people in Malaysia for this time under the leadership of the new Malaysian government, despite the COVID-19 epidemic that hits Malaysia today?
To, con- to continue the journey of Survive to Restart mission, the household income classification of Malaysian need to be re-evaluated as the current classification is no longer suitable for promoting the economic well-being of the low-income group. This is the government's effort to bridge the income gap between the rich and the low-income group in Malaysia. At the same time, the gap does not continue to widen every year, and government aid does not continue to be marginalized for these three groups. B40 should be divided into three subgroups, namely B40 household with low income 900 or less, B40 household with middle income between 901 ringgit or less, to 1,500, and B40 household with high income between 1,501 ringgit to 3,000. Currently, B40 household are those earning below 5,346 ringgit. Economists expect the B40 household to be the worst affected if not helped with the right and immediate mechanism. M40 can be divided into the household with low income between 3,001 ringgit to 999 and M40 household with high income between 7,000 to 9,999 with the low and high M40 reclassification. Some current M40 will be under the B40 group. To enjoy the assistance, they should have. The top group of T20 is the rich whose salary and household income in Malaysia every month exceed 10,971 for the year 2022. Most government assistance channels are given according to the classification of gross monthly household income and salary regardless of whether you are from the B40 or M40 group or single. For example, 1,800 assistance will be received by B40 while the maximum assistance is 1,200 for M40.
Okay, thank you, Cornelia. It is so good to know that. Now we invite if there is any other question you want to raise before we end our discussion for today.
Miss Moderator, I want to highlight this question to Puan Nurul about what you have said regarding for how the ability of tourism can grow as a result of decreased foreign tourist exchange rates. Can the Malaysian tourist industry possibly recover from the effects of COVID-19 even in the face of a pressure inflation crisis?
Okay, according to our research, the tourism industry in Malaysia is only predicted to fully recover in 2024 to pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels seen in 2019. It is because it is anticipated the tourist arrivals will be slow and gradual in 2022 and 2023 due to high costs and limited corporate budgets, while China is likely to keep its border closed to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Fortunately, while waiting the international visitors to resume their travel, the administration is actively looking for methods to redevelop the industry. Looking back, the economists found that the COVID-19 pandemic, which started in early 2020, had a particularly negative impact on the tourist industry, which the CGS CIMB characterized as a category encompassing retail, lodging, and transportation sectors in addition to the food and beverage sectors. According to my research, the lack of tourism caused Malaysia tourism earnings to drop from RM86.1 billion in 2019 to RM12.7 billion in 2020. That the contribution of tourism to the economy decreased to 14.1 of GDP in 2020 from 15.9% in 2019, showing a decrease in gross value added of RM 41.1 billion. Throughout the 2020 and 2021, the industry mainly depend on the domestic travel to lessen the impact. And factors such as increased transportation and food expenses due to high global commodity price should make it less likely that Malaysia tourist industry would fully recover in 2022 and 2023. The CGS CNB also predicts that by 2022, there would be 7.8 million international tourists visiting Malaysia, down from 26.1 million in 2019. They say that more experience, accommodation, and meals might discourage potential passengers from leaving. Based on the article I read, according to recent review and study from the CGS CMB, this might reduce the attraction of the weak ringgit. That's my answer for your question.
Thanks, Puan Nurul.
My pleasure.
Okay, therefore, from what you have shared just now, there are many good and bad impact of currency depreciation in Malaysia. So we should never take the bad impact seriously, and we have to see the positive side too. So it is everyone's right to choose on how to deal with it. Finally, we have reached the end of our discussion for today, and I would like to say thank you to all of the panelists for participating our forum for today and giving a lot of helpful information. See you next time.